UKIP has had a difficult 24 hours, finding itself in the midst of what could be described as its first sex scandal. The party's General Secretary, Roger Bird, has been suspended for alleged impropriety after one of its most prominent potential candidates has accused him of sexual harassment. Through today, the murky details of what went on and the different accounts of their relationship have brought all the wrong kinds of attention on the party. At the heart of it all is Natasha Bolter. She was a hugely valued member of the party who had a starring role at its conference in Doncaster. She was even introduced by Roger Bird himself.
I'd like you all to put your hands together to welcome Natasha Bolter.
Morning conference. Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak today.
A relatively young, ethnic minority, woman candidate who had defected from Labour, she single-handedly appeared to undermine the accusation that UKIP was a party of old angry white men who had crossed over from the Tory party. But it has all turned sour. She's told The Times that she had been propositioned by Roger Bird when he was vetting her as a potential parliamentary candidate. The paper reports her as saying that he continued to try to sleep with her after she'd made clear she wasn't interested. He has said in his defence they had a consensual relationship, and he released text messages to back up his account. They have her saying, among other things, "I love you and miss you and think you are sort of perfect." And "You are a really great mentor, Bird. And are you still cool with me leaving suitcase here and coming home with you?" Although the two accounts of the relationship sound very different, strictly speaking they're not factually incompatible. Nigel Farage has not commented, but the party is still investigating the matter to get to the bottom of it all. But Natasha Bolter herself has been thrust into the limelight today, which is never an easy place to be. As a trusted acquaintance of the journalist Tom Mangold, she agreed to give him an interview for Newsnight, and that was recorded this afternoon. Now, a key question, of course, is what she says about those text messages, but our interview was recorded before we had the actual wording of them. This evening, she had told Tom that they had exchanged several friendly and affectionate texts and emails. She said, "None of them changes my story." But let's hear what she had to say in her own words to Tom Mangold this afternoon.
I want to know the nature, the circumstances of your relationship with Roger Bird.
I met him. I didn't know at first he was the party secretary. He interviewed me for my PPC exams.
What's that?
So in UKIP we have in order to become a prospective parliamentary candidate we have to sit exams. And he interviewed me on policy. Yeah. So he said would I could continue the interview later at a club. I thought this was party protocol for interviews.
So
yes.
you met him in a club?
No, it's a private.
Yeah, but
the Oxford and
we've now gone
Club.
from the professional to something a little more personal, private.
I thought it was what one does.
Right.
And
what happened at that meeting?
I think he thought he thought I was a bit nervous, and possibly I could be a good candidate.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted me not to be so nervous and to perform as well as I could in order for me to pass, in order for me to continue.
And what happened?
I felt a little bit uncomfortable because it's as though he found me attractive and he wanted to get to know me in a more intimate way as opposed to just being a good political representative for the party.
Can you tell me about your dinner with Roger Bird?
Yes, I had met him at his office once and he asked me if I was hungry, would I like to go for dinner? I said yes. It was the school half-term holidays and I was wearing a jean skirt and Dr. Martin boots. I don't think I looked very politician-y that day. And he said that I wasn't in the right clothes to go and have a nice dinner. He bought me a dress so that I could go and have a nice dinner with him, which in itself is nice. As well, it's a way to buy people things in order to so that you're in control and they're not, because you're grateful for them supporting you. But the thing that made me most sad about the whole incident was a small comment when he said, "Now you look like the sort of girl that can get into a taxi." And I think that epitomises UKIP and how they see women.
He says, "I've got emails and texts which show that we had a relationship between September and November." And he says, and I think I'm quoting him here, Natasha and I were in a consensual relationship during those days, well after her admission to the approved candidates list. There are also, he implies, texts of an intimate nature.
There are texts between us.
Of an intimate nature?
No. No. Often I send a kiss after a text, you know, like, see you later, kiss, kiss. I think that's a girl thing to do, but I don't think that's particularly intimate.
Did he ever make a clear proposition to you that you and he go to bed?
Yes, but when I said no, nothing happened. He's I think a gentleman.
Yes.
Yes, he was never, I never felt scared of him. I just felt pressured maybe that if I did the right thing, my career would go faster and further. If I would have slept with him, I would have probably have had an easier time than I have had in UKIP. But it was almost, I joined a party and then I was thrown to the wolves.
In the matter of the relationship between you and Roger Bird, one of you is lying big time. Who is it?
I think I know he is lying. Because no doubt, because I did not sleep with Roger Bird. End of.
You know, people will look at you and they'll say that's fascinating, but why did you continue meeting with him?
He was the General Secretary. I was a PPC. If the General Secretary of the political party you want to stand for calls you and says, Natasha, please come and meet me for a coffee, you go for a coffee. It's what one does with one's superiors.
And what was disappointing was that he hit on you.
That he wasn't taking me seriously as a candidate, he was looking at me as a sex object.
Do you think UKIP have been unfair in suspending him for improprietorial behaviour? For impropriety?
Well,
what do you think?
on the one hand, yes, because he shouldn't have favoritised me as a PPC. I shouldn't have felt pressure that if I did sleep with him, I would have got further. But on the other hand, when I said no, he understood it as a no. But if this issue would have been dealt with when I flagged it up with all the other issues and all the other problems I was experiencing in UKIP on the 5th of November, then I think he could have just got a little tap on the wrist and that would have been the end. That would have been the end, and we could have both continued.
Let me try and sum that up.
I just think for women, so often there are men in powerful positions, and I'm not in a powerful position. I'm just a PPC candidate for UKIP. He is a powerful General Secretary in UKIP. He can decide for me, for Natasha, whether I will succeed or whether I won't succeed. I said no because I want to win an election campaign, because I am good on my own merit, whether I sleep with him or anybody else. I do not want to sleep with somebody in order to benefit my career, because I am Catholic. Where will it end? And there is pressure on women, and that's why I'm standing up here today, and that's why I reported, and that's why I walked away from a target seat and flagged up all these issues and ruined my career and ruined my life, because there's so much pressure on women to maybe sleep with somebody that they don't want to in order to get into a job, because that's the way they feel, that's the pressure they're under, and it's at all levels of society. It's not just in Parliament, and that's what I'm standing against, because that's what I disagree with, and we need to do it for the future generation, for future girls out there.
Did you ever complain about Roger Bird? Did you make a complaint?
I did make a complaint. When I was bringing forward all these claims in a very polite and professional way, I was told to keep my head down and it will be sorted, and it wasn't sorted. And so then we need to look at it in the greater picture. So if they're not looking after a candidate, a PPC candidate that's going to stand in one of their target seats, who's bringing forward serious allegations of sexism and racism and misogyny, are they really going to look after our electorate?
Natasha Bolter talking to Tom Mangold. Interesting at the end there, UKIP won't welcome her comments about the party's reaction, but it does have to be said that on its account it acted very quickly on her accusations. They sent a timeline to us today. The party found out something was wrong on the 5th of November, launched an internal inquiry on the 6th, and hired external consultants to look at it all a week later.